Day 18. Welcome. Okay, so I'm going to refer back to Elder Yoshi's talk. And I feel really bad calling him Elder Yoshi, but I really don't know how to say the rest of his name. Anyway, same talk from 2 days ago. And his third point, so the first one was your sacred grove. The second one was the scriptures. And his third point for allowing the heavens to be open to you was to use the sanctifying power of the atonement. And so yesterday I was reading Nephi chapter 8, First Nephi chapter 8, and that is the story of the tree of life. I was reading it again, and as Lehi and Nephi describe this tree and the fruit and the love of God, you just can't help but desire it. And that's how they explain it, that you want it more than anything. And so I had an experience a few days ago. I read a quote, don't know where, don't know from what, or anything like that. I can't remember. But it said, however you react is what's inside of you, what you're holding on to. And so as I thought about that, I thought, what is my main reaction towards Simeon? And for the most part, it's anger. I get angry, and I don't like it. I really despise that part of myself when I get angry. It's not fear, it's not hurt, it's not embarrassed, it's not guilt or any of those things. Sometimes it is, but for the most part, it's my initial reaction is anger. And so I sat down and I prayed a lot, and I said, Heavenly Father, this quote that I read really kind of rings true to me. Is this true in my life? And if so, with Simeon, it's always anger. What am I so angry about then? What am I holding on to that has to deal with this anger? And very clearly, I felt the impression of, well, why are you angry? Like, I'm angry that he doesn't obey, or, blah, 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 blah. And again, the question came, but why are you really angry? So I sat and I thought, and eventually, after many questions through the Spirit, I finally came to, I'm really upset with myself. In fact, I'm really angry with me. And every time that I see my son doing something out of the norm or culturally unacceptable or not obeying me or hurting my kids, I tend to get angry. And I'm angry at me. I'm angry because I feel like it's my fault that I did something wrong and that I should have been better. And I thought of a few incidences, one of which, he was in a stroller, he wasn't strapped in, I stopped suddenly, he fell out, hit his head. He was a baby, wasn't very old, and got a huge goose egg. And I thought, maybe that's why. Maybe that incident caused enough brain damage that now I have this child with all these problems. And it's my fault for being stupidly arrogant. It was a mistake. I wasn't intending for that. Anyway. And I realized that there's a lot of those little incidences in my life that deal with Simeon that I can point and say, that was my problem. I was dumb. I should have known better. Or that was my problem. I should have tried this, or I should have done this. And as I'm going through all these scenarios, I feel the Spirit say, so when are you going to forgive yourself? And I sat there thinking, I don't know. I don't know how to forgive myself. So I went out and I talked to my husband. I said, Brent, how do you forgive yourself for things? And he stopped what he was doing and he looks at me and he says, well, honey, how do you forgive other people? I said, well, I have a desire and I take it to the Lord and I just feel like I'm just given grace, that it's a gift of you want to, so here it is. And sometimes it takes a long time and sometimes it's pretty instantaneous. But when I have that desire, I feel like it comes. And he said, well, why can't you do that with yourself? I don't know. I don't want to. I don't want to forgive myself. He said, why not? I said, because I have to hold myself accountable. He said, for what? I said, for all these things I did. It was for all these arrogant mistakes. And he said, okay, so the atonement works for everything except your arrogant mistakes. I said, no, I feel like the Lord can still forgive me for those things. I just can't forgive me for those things. And my husband looks at me again, and he says, so the atonement doesn't count for your arrogant mistakes. It's not big enough that you have to hold yourself personally responsible. That Christ isn't big enough for those things. Yeah, I guess that is what I believe. So, the last night and today, my prayers have been, help me to have the desire to want to forgive myself. Because if I'm holding on to anger and guilt and shame and feeling like I'm a failure, then where's room for light and love? Something has to give if I want to fill my soul with light and love, with grace. I can't have both. I can't feel like I have to hold on to it so I can be accountable. I either learn to let go and heal and allow the atonement to really work in my soul, or I don't move from where I'm at. So, anyway, that was my night last night. Bless my husband. He is so insightful. So grateful for him. That's day 18. Have a good night.